Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the final episode of the Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship. We are here at Jarama, and as you can see, the grass stands so colorful and packed full of fans. They just cannot wait to see the giants back on the track, the giants of the trucks, and they're all lining up soon for the qualifying. And then afterwards, we do have the Super Bowl. We do need to see who's going to be first and who's going to be first for entering race number 3. 2 more races in this final episode. We hope we don't see much drama at Jarama, because yesterday obviously we had very much delays due to some kind of red flags, but we forget about that. We just focused in on the sunny day here at Jarama. We're so glad to be back here. And of course we do welcome our commentators, Chess Dracourt, and in German it's Joachim Eberts and Fonsi Cebrian. Bienvenidos. And you're going to present us the beautiful track layout, because we're going to see 14 turns and so on.
Yes, good morning, Christina. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the final race day of the 2023 Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship. I'm Chaz Draycott, the English commentator for this wonderful series, and I'm really looking forward to the last race day on our calendar this season. It's a shame that it's coming to an end, but I tell you, we have a real blockbuster coming up. Let's have a look at that track map then and see just what the drivers are faced with for this amazing final weekend. Jarama, a circuit with a lot of history behind it in all forms of motorsport, but it's been very well known for a long time for truck racing. The start of the lap on paper does not look too treacherous, but honestly, the run down through the right-hander at Varzi into Le Mans and Farina is very tricky. Up the hill through Bugatti, down towards Ascari, and then the last couple of corners, Peggio, Monza, and Tunnel, all massive challenges as well. And I tell you, the drivers were certainly making the most of it yesterday, using every bit of the circuit that they could. But with the hot weather due to hit us again just this afternoon, it's going to be a dream final race day at Jarama. I can feel it. I'm very positive about all of this. What we're going to do, though, is have a look at the very dramatic race 2 from yesterday, because there was a lot of great pictures for us to keep in our minds as Louis Requenco lined up on pole position once again. He was alongside Andre Kurzin in a repeat of the front row from Le Mans just last week. Louis and Andre did a great job at holding the lead in the early stages, with Jose Rodriguez behind, and then a whole host of drivers trying to come through from their reverse grid positions. As we so often see, Norbert Kish was clean and clinical in making his moves and made a great charge to the front of the pack, overtaking the likes of Jose Rodriguez, Andre Kurzin and Louis Requenco within a few laps of one another. It did take him some time to get past Andre Kurzin, though. He was certainly putting up a great defence, and it took a good few attempts to get past Louis Requenco as well. Louis was doing some great defensive driving, but a little mistake here and there cost him a number of positions in the later laps, but he would still come through to take his second victory in the Promoters' Cup in one day, and his 4th on the bounce. Steffi Halm was in the wars as well, with Sasha Lenz trying to get by, and then there was the Iveco battle of Jochen Hahn and, of course, Louis Requenco. Louis again defending well in what was Jochen's son's truck, and hoping for a final race to remember. But it was Norbert Kish that took his 20th win of the season and broke a fantastic record, and certainly set himself up for a great final day's racing, where the gloves are very much off here at Jarama. It was his 100th win in truck racing as well, and just again another highlight on what has been an amazing career for Norby so far, and we look forward to many more numbers continuing to pile up over time. The numbers are piling up here as well, with the massive amount of fans that we have at the circuit on these gorgeous grass banks all the way around, and we're going to go back down onto the ground to speak to Christina.
Thank you. The fans, they've been gathering up here, and Jamie Anderson was last to enter, and he needed to honk that horn very loud to get him some space to get onto the grid, of course. So that was really fun to see. And as you can see, the personnel here, they're streaming up to get the best seated. And you, following us on our live streams, you've got always the seat in the front row. Please join us in also on our social media channels, and we are going right now for you on track to keep on with the qualifying.
Absolutely. The lights have gone green at the end of the pit lane just now, and qualifying 2 will begin. The format of this session is that the entire field makes their way out onto the circuit. Everybody tries to set the fastest lap they can, but then once this 20-minute session ends, then the top 10 drivers go back out again in the order that they just finished to then organise Super Pole, which sorts out the next 10 drivers, or at least the top 10 drivers, on the grid. It's only the positions outside of the top 10 that get frozen between these 2 sessions. You can see some smoke and dust and all sorts down there, down at turn 2. I know a lot of the fans, and especially fans of Antonio Albacete here at Jarama, will bring their chainsaws with them for the weekend. It's apparently a bit of a tradition here where they'll bring the chainsaws without the blades on them, and in the grandstands there's always the revving sounds from these chainsaws. It's certainly different to the usual air horns that you hear in motorsport, but the fans are really passionate here in Spain. They absolutely love it. You can hear the fanfare now. Listen, and all they're doing is doing their sort of warm-up laps to start qualifying as well. It's just a great reception for all of the racers that are here the weekend, and the support from all of them involved has been magic. So Norbert Kish hoping to take a 100% record in qualifying for this season. He needs to just basically score one more pole position, and that will be that, and he will have done it. We've all got faith that he can do it. I mean, his form in qualifying has been untouchable this year. The only time that he hasn't won either a race 1 or race 3 of the weekend has been because of a mechanical failure. We've seen turbocharger failures and electrical failures from Baloo, the big red MAN this season. But it's pretty out of character for the usual rock-solid Revace Racing team. But it happens to the very best of them in motorsport. Nobody is immune from failures and incidents in racing, and it often shakes up the championship when we get these sort of shock results, let's say. But everybody now making their way around the circuit to start their initial qualifying laps. And here in the Spanish sunshine, it is a glorious place to be. There's not been a cloud in the sky all weekend. It has been amazing down here in Spain. Very hot. I'm in the media centre at the moment, and even with the aircon on in here, it has just been roasting all weekend. It certainly affects the drivers as well. Nearly 60 degrees in some of the cabs, and obviously they have to wear full racing gear as well, a full fire resistant race suit and helmet and hands device, and it gets mighty hot in these cabs. It's just the bare metal of the truck, and of course all of the devices and all sorts in there. Qualifying begins now, and the first of their sort of opening laps, let's say, their out laps, get brought through. But it's a 20-minute session to begin with, and then the 10-minute Super Pole session follows on a little bit later. It's usually only a couple of minutes between those two. As Jochen Hahn, he was confirmed yesterday after the second race as vice champion. He will definitely finish second in the championship this year, ahead of the likes of Sasha Lenz and Antonio Albacete, who come into today's racing with just 1 point between them in the favour of Sasha Lenz. 253 points for him, 252 points for Antonio Albacete. And it's the awards dinner this evening for the championship, so it's going to be a last-minute write-down of all the names, I imagine. Still keeps it very exciting, doesn't it? Now, Jochen Hahn had the gearbox changed yesterday evening in their truck. I was walking through the paddock and I spoke to Andre Kurzim and the team. Obviously wished Andre a very happy birthday, but he said that they were not going to do any more engine changes. They were happy with the engine they had. And then as we looked over, Jochen and the team were actually digging away at the back of the truck, and it was the gearbox that was changed. They wanted to make sure that everything was in tip-top condition for this morning. And of course the rest of the day. Still 15 and a half minutes left to go, and we've not seen the fast times, let's say, come through just yet, but Norbert Kish is now heading down the start-finish straight to put in the first of those times. He's just roared past the media centre here, and it's a 1:57.849, 1.16 seconds ahead of Antonio Albacete. Jochen Hahn goes second fastest, just 6 tenths behind Norby, who's next to put times in. Andre Kurzim goes fourth fastest, just ahead of Steffi Halm, 1.6 and 1.7 seconds. Jose Eduardo Rodriguez declared as Promoters Cup champion yesterday after my horrendous forgetful maths. Louis Riquenco puts a time in, and it's looking like Sasha Lenz has gone up there into 4th position as well. He puts a solid time in to get onto what is effectively the second row of the grid at the moment. Heinrich Clemens-Hecker and Stefan Fass both putting times in as well. Stefan was not racing in that second race yesterday because the steering box was broken. I caught up with him at the end of the day, and he was just telling me that with the fact that he's quite safe in second position in the Promoters Cup Championship, there was no point risking it and risking damaging the truck further by going out there and throwing it at the scenery, let's say. There is Antonio Albacete on our screens. Of course, he is the star of the show this weekend, really. They love him here in Spain. He is a racing legend indeed. He's been racing for a long, long time, as Antonio. His son Tony is here this weekend as well, actually. I bumped into him just earlier in the paddock. It's great to see him again as well. Actually bumped into the pair of them just completely by accident in the middle of another race meeting that I was here for earlier on in the year. And it was great to see them both, and Antonio very supportive of Tony's racing, as you can imagine, but in-person attendance as well. There is Sasha Lenz over the top of the hill. Sasha was one of the final trucks out onto the circuit in this session, actually. So wasn't in his sort of championship order, let's say. They often do leave the pit lane for the first part of qualifying in championship order. But sometimes it's not always completely paramount. It's just that if they would like to take advantage of being near the front of the train, then they can do. But Jamie Anderson is 8th fastest at the moment. It said that I was speaking to his dad earlier on, and he said that the contact came from behind with Stefan Fass yesterday. They were braking for the hairpin, and everybody was checking up slightly, and Stefan was just caught out by it, went into the back of him. But it broke the spring, not on the rear of the truck, but on the front, because of the fact that because he got hit so hard, the truck sort of leant down forwards that much and compressed the spring to the point where it broke on the rebound. So the spring just completely decimated, and he was not able to carry on from there. Sasha Lenz currently 4th fastest. I imagine we'll see him head into the pit lane after that lap. He'll be happy with that one, and happy enough to obviously bring himself into the pits and sit it out for the rest of the session and wait for Super Pole, because some of the drivers tend to do that. You'll see them go for a fast lap and then cool it down like we see a number of them now. Louis Riquenco just gets on with it again, though, and restarts his next fast lap. And now into the pits everybody goes. And there is Louis Riquenco heading down towards the first corner. It's very difficult to get it nice and smooth on the exit of turns 1 and 2 down towards Varzy, because the circuit isn't perfectly straight there. So you can try and straighten the truck up on the exit and clip that curb on the left-hand side, but it doesn't always work out that way, and it's very easy for the rear end of the truck just to break traction slightly, break away and slide off into the gravel, just dip a wheel into the dust. John Newell is currently in 10th position ahead of Louis Riquenco, Jonathan Andre, Clemens-Hecker and Stefan Fass. And with that, John is in a position to go through into Super Pole at the moment. He'll be really pleased with that. Spoke to the team this morning, and they're happy, of course, with their Promoters Cup position at present. 16 points clear of Louis Riquenco, who's been in great form recently. But then they are now 25 points clear of Mark Taylor. Mark, having a nightmare day yesterday with so many failures, has dropped down from a solid 3rd in the the Promoters Cup Championship down into 5th position. And Louis Riquenco is one of the men that's in there trying to fight with them all. There is potential, I believe, as well, that Heinrich Clemens-Hecker could be in the hunt for it too, to try and take away another position from Mark. We'll have to check that as the time goes on, obviously. I'll get the points as they are, and we'll check what he needs to do to get right up there with them, because Mark on 201 points at the moment ahead of Clemens-Hecker, who's on 187. So a good 14 points at least between those, but still, there's the potential for that to change today. There's 30 points available, and a man that doesn't need many of those points really, because he's safe in 2nd in the championship now, is Jochen Hahn, and he's with Christina.
He is, and you had a gearbox change yesterday. How's the setup right now? Is it working well?
Oh, now it's brand new, so shifting it's not really a problem. But in the end, it's a small thing yesterday. The clutch begins something we don't really understand, and the shifting the last gear, it's... But okay, changed, new. I feel very confident for the Super Bowl.
Absolutely. So you're already vice champion. So you got it in the books right now. You can easily enjoy the last day of racing.
Yeah, for sure. But you know, the second place in the championship, it's the first loser, and this is not a sense why we are here. Yes, somebody forgot. To be win, you need a second place, a third place, and you need a last place. You know, it's in the end. I will not say I'm a loser in this moment. So I'm happy and proud about the second place, but it's not enough. So and we stay here also for the next year.
Absolutely. We expect that from six-time champion Jochen Hahn. Thank you very much. He's not the first loser then. Of course he's not. He's also a winner. And you are too, Chaz.
Well, thank you very much, Christina. Certainly feeling like a winner today. We're all very excited and happy for the first round of the day. But of course, qualifying comes first to organise how that grid will be. Jonathan Andre has jumped up there into 9th place with a great lap from him. He's been continually finding more and more pace in the truck. And he's certainly found a lot of it there. Great stuff from Jonathan Andre to move up into 9th spot. Stefan Faas across the line. I think he was just starting a fast lap, potentially. There's 50-50 chance here that I've got that wrong. But yeah, it looks to me like that was an outlap for him. Stefan last time round, not anywhere near his personal best of a 2:01.295 at the moment. Mark Taylor has done a 2:12.3. So I'm not sure if he had some issue partway around the lap. Currently going out of Superpole at the moment would be John Newell, Louis Requenco, Clemens Hecker and Stefan Faas and the aforementioned Mark Taylor. See here Jose Rodriguez, who we've had back in the championship for the last 2 race meetings. It's been good to have him back with us. All 3 races are on circuit this weekend. And hopefully back on circuit and kicking still will be Sascha Lenz today. They've had a bit of a difficult weekend so far. Christina is there speaking to Sascha.
Yeah, we're absolutely convinced that he's going to kick in it after the day. Let's forget about it yesterday. So how do you get trust again in this truck? And you've been performing very, very well after all the incidents yesterday.
You know, my team make a really nice job. The truck is working, I feel it's good. So now it's a Super Bowl and that it's important for us.
What are your expectations? Because you're still in of the battle of the 3, of course. So it's very, very important this day.
You know, the better one go on P3. So you need a little bit lucky. So I think we was completely here. We was fast. Every time we become a punch, we lose. On the end, after the checkered flag, after the second race, we know we are P4 or P3.
Good luck and always trying to stand up, of course. So Sascha Lenz competing for P number 3 overall podium.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great championship fight between himself and Antonio Albacete. As I mentioned, there's just the 1 point between them coming into this final day's racing here. So there's certainly a lot to play for. 3rd in the overall championship standings is a big deal still in those podium positions, because we have our top 3 drivers overall, our top 3 drivers in the Promoters' Cup, and of course our top 3 teams as well, which take that at the end of the season. Here's Jonathan Andre, who I'm sorry to say has had his lap time deleted for overspeeding. That previous did was really good, but unfortunately it didn't pay off. Christina again, I've just heard we've got a word from her.
Very much, because we wanted to show you the new invitation. This is the kind of air blower, but right now it is the new air condition here at the truck of Sascha Lenz. So you know the drivers, they're very, very inventive. And if I'm too hot, thank you. Isn't that a service? Back to you.
Always good fun in a truck racing paddock, isn't it? But this is the thing, you know, these teams and the drivers are all very inventive with what they use to cool themselves down or even heat things up when it comes to a colder climate where we go racing. Jonathan Andre has just overdone it there, so he's going to have to cool off slightly before he gets around to the final corner. Goes off very, very wide at Monza, but then gets a good run down the start-finish straight again. Mark Taylor has not improved on his time at the moment. He's done a 2:09.5. So I think somewhere, something not feeling right with that truck. It seems like the front right bodywork is still gone. I'm not sure whether that's come of something from this session or not, but it seems like the front end is very, very damaged on Mark's truck, so not quite sure what's gone on there. Hopefully nothing in this session, like I say, and they've just decided to throw it out there with the bodywork as is for this session. He makes his way back up the hill now, just in front of Louis Requenco. John Newell's in there as well, hoping to get a fast lap in. Don't think Louis realised that John was wanting to come through so suddenly there. They go through the right-hander, up through Ascari, down towards the long sweeping hairpin at the bottom. I love this wide-angle shot. There's a lock-up from John on the front left. He was doing that yesterday as well. Very difficult part of the circuit to get right because of the way that the weight transfers one way then the other so quickly. And then, of course, you're trying to lean the weight on that front left corner to get it slowed down. And across the line there goes Stefan Fass. He's currently in 14th position. His lap time last time round was an outlap by the look of it, or a sort of a slower lap to prepare for a quick one here. He's done 2:01.295 as his best lap, but his previous one was 2:17. Waiting to see whether Mark Taylor improved on his time, but it looked to me like he backed off for a moment and then decided to go for it as he headed back up the hill. You can see at the moment on the timing tower on the left-hand side, the top 7 in this session are currently in the pits. Everybody else out there try and improve as best they can. Jamie Anderson, top of those drivers at the moment, in 8th place. Jose Rodriguez next up. And John Newell, of course, back up there into the top 10 now. So John has improved last time round. Some great movement in amongst the drivers in this qualifying session. You never know who's going to make it through to Superpole. That's always one of the most intriguing part of the weekend. And thank you to Lisa Garrett as well. Lisa and Luke are both here this weekend, and see my wonderful friends Daryl and Danielle as well in the paddock. It's always good to see them. Saw them yesterday evening. They're here supporting the British drivers in the championship, and we saw them with Mark Taylor in the team. Lisa has let me know that Mark's panel was not put back on from getting it fixed, so I was right in thinking that it's not something that has happened in this session. I was certainly hopeful it wasn't something that happened in this session. So obviously the team just, they know that the aerodynamic gain from it is almost nil, so at the end of the day, it just sent him out there with the truck as is to use it as a sort of live test. We've seen a few of these sessions this year from a number of drivers where they've had a bit of a difficult day, a few bits of damage here and there that they've had to fix, and then go back out in a session without body panels on the truck just because of the way it behaves underneath, let's say. 90% of it is all mechanical grip, really, in these trucks. Not much of it, really, is aerodynamics. Surely, some of it affects it in a straight line, but at the end of the day, when you're limited to a certain speed in a championship and can't exceed that speed, then there's no point in having a truck that's quicker than everybody else in a straight line, other than for the couple of seconds it takes to reach said speed. There's Clemens Hecker, currently in 11th place, just outside, and I mean just 0.003 of a second outside the top 10, behind John Newell. And John is only a good 90 thousandths of a second, or even 85, behind Jose Rodriguez in 9th place as well. So again, it's mighty close between the drivers just on the outer fringes of the top 10. It looks to me like Clemens Hecker is done with his laps. I don't think this is going to be a fast one to go into Superpole. Looks like he's done and he's backed off now. And there is John Newell down the start-finish straight again. Louis Requenco, after winning both Promoters' Cup races yesterday, currently in 12th place at this moment in time. Jonathan Andre in 13th, ahead of Stefan Fast and Mark Taylor. Louis Requenco, it looks like, is going for a final lap here to try and improve before the session is over. Listen to the roar from the crowd as he comes round here. They love him. Hear all the air horns going off, the truck bouncing and squeaking its way over the curb, the tyres just skipping across the surface, the bowl-like surface there at Farina. And John Newell there heading down towards the hairpin again. See if he locks up this time round. A little puff of smoke, but I think he's kept it all together. Great view there down at that hairpin. They sweep their way off to the left of the shot, and they've got to be so careful on the throttle there, because as they go up through the gears on the exit, the trucks can very easily kick the back end out. John heads down towards the Bugatti S's once more. Still in Superpole at this present moment. You can see that via the drivers that are all highlighted in green on the left-hand side. And don't forget, all the racing itself is green as well. You'll see a lot of the trucks running with these green fifth wheels, as they call them, on the back with the 100% renewable HVO diesel branding on it, which all of our trucks tend to carry. It's a wonderful way of showing off that sort of unity amongst the championship. I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to stickers and decals and things on racing machines, and it always pleases me when they all have something in common that ties them together as part of the same championship. John crosses the line behind Louis Requenco, who puts in the final time. Does he improve? He does not. Louis Requenco does a 2:01.008. So that should mean that John Newell goes through into Superpole, joining the rest of the top 10. Norbert Kish, Jochen Hahn, Antonio Albacete, Sasha Lenz, Andre Kurzim, Steffi Halm, Jose Eduardo Rodriguez, Jamie Anderson, Jose Rodriguez, and then, of course, John himself. And thanks again to Alice, who is in race control, giving me all the info I need. And she's explained that there's no outstanding penalties or anything that's been investigated, so the result, as it is, should stand. Good stuff for John. They'll be really pleased with that to go through into Superpole. Of course, it means that the session isn't over as soon for them, so there's a lot more work still to go, but only a 10-minute session in Superpole as opposed to the 20 that we usually get for the first part of qualifying. And one of the drivers that's gone through into that session is Steffi Halm. She's down there in the pit lane with Christina.
Yeah. So we're talking with Steffi Halm. Of course, congratulations to the podium yesterday. Gerd Körber was jinxing it in our program. He said you're going to be ending up there. How did you manage that?
Yeah, it was, we had just luck, you know, at the start, and then everything working fine for the overtaking and everything. So it was a good race. Finish on the podium was very important for the overall championship.
And also second podium, because you did not mention, but you've been winning the kart race, the unofficial kart race here at Jarama. How was that?
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. You know, I was not the fastest, but we made a reverse grid. So I was lucky to be first after the start, and then I was able to win it.
Sounds great. We may have a look at the pictures afterwards. She's going to compete right now in the Superpole. And yes, there has been a kart race in between the media and, of course, some personnel from the Goodyear FIA ETRC. Always good fun and good sports.
Yeah, there absolutely was. There was a fantastic race organised with a lot of the drivers and engineers. Eventually, it was actually Antonio Albacete's son, Antonio Jr., that was the fastest out there, with Antonio in second position. Norbert Kish was third, ahead of our very own Mark Henrici. It was great to see Mark this weekend. I've become very good friends with him, sharing stories of his old GT1 racing days as well. But as you can see, everybody was just in it for the crack, as we say. Jamie Anderson, Steffi Halm was there as well, Louis Requenco, Eduardo Rodriguez, and Mark Taylor. And this karting circuit on the infield of the Jarama racetrack, certainly a great place for everybody to come and enjoy themselves. But this is what I mean, being part of this championship, everybody is in it for a good time, and everyone has a really, really good laugh of it. You can see there Steffi Halm pushing on to try and take whatever places she could. I can tell you that the number 12 truck in front of her was actually Jamie Anderson as well, that she was chasing down. And as you see, Vuelta Rápida, very fast indeed, Antonio Jr., but then Steffi Halm ended up winning the race. There's Imre Kadar as well from Jamie Anderson's team. I think maybe it might have been Imre that was racing there instead of Jamie. But still, great fun here this weekend. I've been told during the little interval that we've had that, unfortunately, Jonathan Andre's times have all been deleted for overspeeding. So he will start from the back of the grid from those that run. But Mark Taylor will have to request to start the race from the stewards because of the 110% rule with lap times. So Mark will have to go to the stewards and just ask that he can still start the race. I'm very sure that he will. It's not down to anything to do with him being unsafe or slow or anything like that. It's just the case that the truck's not been in the best shape so far this weekend, so they're still working on getting it fixed and obviously making sure that it can be at its best, because Mark needs to try his very finest to get back up there into third in the Promoters' Cup standings. Jonathan Andre has just come into the pit lane now as everybody is now released to leave at the other end. And it is Norbert Kish, Jochen Hahn, Antonio Albacete, Sasha Lenz, Andre Kursen, Steffi Halm, maybe spurred on by her karting victory, ahead of Jose Eduardo Rodriguez, Jamie Anderson, Jose Rodriguez, and then John Newell. Again, you can see a bit of the humidity in the air, just in the hills behind the circuit. It's not really made its way to the track itself. It's been a very dry heat this weekend. I was talking to Shaba and Norby from Revace Racing this morning, and they were both saying that this is one of the only circuits they go to, or if not the only circuit, where they'll completely destroy a set of tyres over the course of a day. So they all have to be very, very careful of how they use the tyres up as the day goes on. But now, with just this 10-minute session, the drivers have much less time to get a lap on the board. There's certainly additional pressure from a session like this. And Norbert Kish is going for that 100% pole position record here. He'll be absolutely over the moon with it. I do not believe that anybody's done that before in a season. And that will be a definite way to show a dominance in pace. And another mark on the list, and another reason even to completely adore and respect the pace that Norby has in this machine, and in himself as well. His form as a driver, and his patience in the reverse grid race is just awesome. Everybody making their way around the hairpin now, a little bit slower on these outlaps just to spread themselves out slightly, get clear air in front, make sure that the tyres aren't overworked as well, make sure the truck isn't having its head kicked in, as we say in English. And everyone will be psyching themselves up as well. It's not just about the machines at this point of the session either. They'll obviously be trying to ensure that their head is in the game and they're all prepared and ready to go. And now you can hear the revs build up as Norbert Kish heads down the start-finish straight for the final moments of qualifying in the 2023 Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship. This is the very last Superpole session of the year here at Jarama. He's followed by Jochen Hahn and Antonio Albacete, and then Sasha Lenz. Antonio and Sasha just 1 point apart. There is Bobby Dimitrov and Mark Taylor in the pit lane discussing what's gone on. And I mean, the body language of Bobby there, banging his head against the side of the truck, maybe tells a bit of a story. But it has been one of those weekends for them, unfortunately. And I know that they're going to be hoping for a much smoother day today than they've had before. Norbert Kish is on for another very smooth day of racing as things stand at the moment. He's out there on a flyer. Even in terms of the outlaps, he was still quicker. But obviously, being the truck at the front, you determine the pace of the session, don't you? There's Jochen Hahn heading down towards the hairpin as well. I love that shot. The real sense of speed you get from that camera angle is fantastic. And then the gorgeous reflections there from the sort of inner roads of the circuit really add to that great shot, and the fantastic backdrop behind it as well. It's a very scenic circuit, actually, considering how flat it usually is around this sort of area. There's a great view all over with the hills and the scenery in the background. We just saw Mark Taylor there speaking with Bobby Dimitrov, and he's now going to have a chat with Christina about what's going on.
Yeah, absolutely. You had quite a lot of difficulties this weekend. How's it going so far at the Sunday?
Still not good. So yesterday we went out in free practice, and it broke a bolt in the steering what took me off. Then I went out in qualifying and it broke a front spring. Then I went out in a race and it broke another spring. Then I've been out this morning for free practice. It's broke the centre bolt in the spring, so at the minute it's not going too well.
You're absolutely on spring break then.
Oh, definitely, yeah. So, hopefully, I'm hoping we can get to the bottom on it. Everyone's working hard and working late at night, but at the minute we seem to not get to the bottom on it.
Good luck then. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Back to you.
It's such a shame for Mark. This same issue is plaguing them all weekend. No matter what, the truck just keeps breaking springs. We know that it's a very tough circuit on the trucks. It can really, really kick them from the underneath. You know, it properly tears them apart in terms of the springs and the tyres. It really affects the suspension a lot over a weekend like this because there's so much undulation, so many heavy curbs. It seems like whatever the problem is, they can't quite to get to the bottom of it. Like Mark said, you know, they've got this issue where it's just a little bit more sensitive to it than the others, it seems, and they cannot figure it out. We've got, of course, our Promoters' Cup battle to think about, but Jose Eduardo Rodriguez is already declared as champion. He's ninth in this qualifying session ahead of John Newell. We look there at Antonio Albacete, who is currently on third place in qualifying, only 20 thousandths of a second ahead of Sasha Lenz as well, so very, very close there again. We're going to be picking wedding venues for them by the end of the year, but it's Norbert Kish on pole as things stand by 0.8 of a second from Jochen Hahn. He's got another 0.9 of a second back to Albacete and then Sasha Lenz. And then they've got a couple of tenths over Andre Kursim, who's going well in there in fifth place ahead of Jamie Anderson and Steffi Halm. The three of them fighting for fifth place in the championship as well. Steffi on 162 points, 9 points ahead of Andre Kursim. And then he is 13 points ahead of Jamie Anderson. But with 30 on the table, that could change a lot today. Here's John Newell. He's wound it up now for a quick lap. Oh, it seems like it was a quick lap. I think he's backed off knowing there's traffic there. Yeah, it certainly looked like it. Everybody on there sort of in laps now and slowing down. So John's got 3 minutes to get to the line and start another lap. He's currently in 10th position, but I know that he'll be hoping to get ahead of Jose Eduardo Rodriguez, and that would be a wonderful, wonderful achievement for him and the team to be the fastest in the Promoters' Cup for this qualifying session. He might try and overtake a couple of these drivers just to get himself to the start-finish line that little bit quicker. And now he's actually hanging back to have that clear space, it seems. He's got 2.5 minutes still. They'll be on the radio to him, telling him that he's got the time to do it, so there's no dramas. There's a couple of drivers still circulating as well that haven't gone back into the pits. I think everybody actually continuing on. I don't think Norbert Kish has come back into the pits either. He wants to maybe extend that advantage if he can, just in case other drivers put a fast time in. I know that he'll be feeling a bit of the pressure here of trying to get that 100% record. Oh, never mind. He's coming to the pits now. As I said that, I looked out the window to see who was coming across the line next. And there past me crawls the bright red machine of Reverse Racing. Fantastic timing, Norby, comedic as ever. So Jochen Hahn second, Antonio Albacete third, and then this man, Sasha Lenz, currently in fourth, hoping to get a good enough time in here to get ahead of Antonio and maybe extend that advantage. Because if he finishes third with Antonio in fourth place in the first race of the day, he'll gain another 2 points on him and have a 3-point advantage going into the final race of the season. And in the fourth race of the championship, it's so hard to open up a big points gap because you literally get 10 points for winning the race, and then it's 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 throughout the rest of the top 10. There's only 1 point difference per position, whereas in the first race of the day, or in races 1 and 3 of the weekend, you get 20 points for finishing in first, and then 15 for second, then 12 and 10. So the first couple of positions have a lot of separation between them. So a top 5 is really important in these races because that's your perfect time to open up a gap. Sasha just makes his way out of Monza, glances past the penalty marker on the outside. And then down the hill they go. It's amazingly steep, this hill, actually. You don't realise when you see it on TV, but when you get here in person and you see just how steep it is up towards that final corner, it's remarkable. So Antonio Albacete crosses the line behind Sasha Lenz. They both improve on their laps, but Sasha has moved up into third place. Sasha gets himself still onto the second row, but on the other side of the grid now. He'll be really pleased with that. Jochen Hahn does not improve on his lap time. Is there any further movement in the field? It doesn't seem so. Jose Eduardo Rodriguez actually does move up. Never mind, he moves ahead of his father, Jose Rodriguez. I think John Newell will be putting in his faster lap time in just a moment. And just on time, the session will be finished. So the checkered flag comes out. John Newell does improve, but not enough to move up into 9th place. And I think that is his session done. I think he's already backed off after that one. He doesn't want to risk having any other further issues with the truck itself. At the end of the day, there's no point risking it for the extra position. He'll be on the same row of the grid. So John's still doing a good job, though, up there in 10th place, getting into Superpole, ahead of his rivals in the Promoters' Cup as well. Importantly for him, ahead of Mark Taylor due to Mark's misfortune this weekend, but also Clemens Hecker as well. He's going to be keeping his eye on it, though, is John, over the course of the race. He'll certainly have his eyes on his mirrors. But he's a very confident bloke, is John, and I know that he'll be keeping eyes forward as well and driving the wheels off that MAN. And thanks again to Alice for the information coming in. So I've just read that the deletion of Jonathan Andre's lap times would mean that he also would need to request to start the race from the stewards. But if he does start the race, he will start behind Mark Taylor because Mark actually set a time. And because Jonathan Andre's times have been deleted, it obviously counts as him not having a lap time. So he'll need to request to start from the stewards, and he will be at the back of the grid if he does so. Seems like it may have been a GPS issue for him as well, because he was overspeeding multiple times down the start-finish straight. And unfortunately, that's what got him a quicker lap time and got him up there inside the top 10. So it's Norbert Kish, pole position and a 100% record in the 2023 Goodyear FIA European Truck Racing Championship. Wherever you are around the world, wherever you may be watching from, I hope you give him at least a small round of applause for that, because that is one amazing, amazing achievement. Jochen Hahn, second place ahead of Sasha Lenz. Antonio Albacete will start on the second row of the grid as well, with Andre Kurzim and Jamie Anderson side by side on the third row. Steffi Halm will be hoping for a little bit more from the race that she's had from qualifying here, because 7th place is not her finest work here so far this weekend. Jose Eduardo Rodriguez and Jose Rodriguez start in 8th and 9th, with John Newell completing our top 10. But another very intriguing qualifying session that keeps us all on our toes and always guessing who's going to be going through and who's going to be finishing where. But just outside the top 10 as well, to confirm, it was Clemens Hecker in 11th, Louis Requenco 12th, Stefan Faas will be 13th ahead of Mark Taylor in 14th if he is cleared to start, which I imagine he will be. And then Jonathan Andre will line up 15th on the grid. We have 2 races coming up over the course of the day. Race 3 will be round 31 of the 2023 campaign. And round 32 will be the very finale of the season. As you see, all the umbrellas are out, and not because it's raining, because it is red hot here in Spain yet again. Even over the course of just this session, the temperature has gone up by 6 degrees. It's amazing now that the sun is properly sky high. It's really heating up out there. And by the end of the day, it's due to get way past 30 degrees for pretty much the whole afternoon. There is Jamie Anderson making his way into scrutineering. Jose Eduardo Rodriguez has been called in there as well. Jochen Hahn is directed to the right-hand side of the paddock, where all of the awnings may be for those teams. And you can see the way that the trucks tower over the fans and fill the landscape as they come back into the pits and into the entire paddock. Jamie Anderson just waiting to head into scrutineering. They go in one at a time to see my good friend Franz Stahlberg. And Andrea Pitaro from Magneti Marelli, or just from Marelli, I imagine it is these days, will be in there. My guys will be doing all that they can to check everyone does things properly. They certainly don't do things by halves, as Franz has reminded me many a time. But a little bit of calm falls over the circuit now as qualifying is completed. Everybody goes back to their necessary stations and gets ready for the next part of the day, which, of course, will be the first race of Sunday here at Jarama. Plenty of anticipation with a lot of the positions that can be decided in terms of the championship points here, with just these final 2 races of the season. And Pascal from the FIA there as well is telling the guys where he wants the trucks and when. In body language, it tells me he didn't get the truck where he wanted it and when he wanted it. But as you see, a nice clear track for everybody to enjoy now. There's other sessions going on over the course of the day, but there is your result from qualifying. Norbert Kish, pole position and a 100% record. Congratulations, Norby. Amazing stuff. Jochen Hahn finishes in 2nd place in that session, with Sascha Lenz in 3rd. Once again, we get trucks 1, 2 and 3, positions 1, 2 and 3. Antonio Albacete refuses to run the number 4, so is number 23 in 4th place. Andre Kurzim in 5th position, and Jamie Anderson joining him on the 3rd row. Then it's Steffi Hallman, Jose Eduardo Rodriguez, with his father, Jose Rodriguez, just behind, and John Newell completing our top 10 runners from that Superpole session. And as mentioned, the remaining drivers, Clemens Hecker in 11th, Louis Requenco 12th, Stefan Fass is 13th, Mark Taylor 14th, and then Jonathan Andre will be requested to, well, he will request from the stewards to start the race, and he will start from the back if possible, due to having his lap times deleted for overspeeding in that session. This is one of the exciting parts of the weekend here, because after every session that we have, all the fans completely flood the awnings. They go and see the drivers, they go and see the teams, and they go to speak to as many people as they possibly can and just see all the trucks up close, all the drivers up close. There's loads of autographs and pictures taken. It's a really, really cool time, actually, once the session has just finished. Obviously, the drivers just want to have a shower and chill out, of course, but that's not always the life of a racing driver, I'm afraid. It's never chill. But the guys are all great with the fans and the supporters. They do a lot to make sure that they give them their time, and they're really, really people-pleasing, I must say. The anticipation will continue to build for the afternoon. We have one of our very fun autograph sessions coming up a little bit later on, and they also do a driver's parade around the circuit too, where they have a bus or a truck, and they get all the drivers on it, and they all drive around the circuit. Everybody a wave. And we're going to go down to the paddock, and we're going to speak to a man that made it through to Superpole today. John Newell, I imagine, is very happy, and he's going to speak to Christina for us.
Yeah, I'm absolutely sure that he is happy with P number 10. You entered the Superpole. How did that come?
Oh, brilliant. I just found a sweet spot with tyres, and the time come together. I've still dropped a couple of attempts in last sector, which would have put me 1 place further up, but I'm very happy with P10. Trying to keep hold of that 3rd place in Promoters' Cup. So it's a good start to Sunday.
It's not only the Battle of the Brits, but it's also a Spaniard, but he's on P12 right now, Rodriguez. Does that give you a small advantage then? Yeah, definitely. That was my prime goal, to get in front of him in qualifying and try and get in Superpole and get a gap between us. I have a 16-point advantage, so as long as I keep in front of him or around him, I'll be fine. What would be the perfect result for you after the race number 3? Finish 1 or 2 in Promoters' Cup with Refrenko behind us, and that's good. All right. Keep our eyes on that. Thank you very much. Thank you. So we will enjoying the in-between time. As you can see, the stands are already packed, and race number 3. Oh, we've got some lighting here. That's a challenge for a cameraman. Sorry for that. So I'm going to be back in here. So our next race, number 3, will be at 13:10, and we are so happy to be back here at Jarama. We do see happy faces after the first qualifying in Superpole, which is in the books. But who will end up on 3rd in the Promoters' Cup, and also the battle of the Goodyear FIA ETRC overall title is still on. So please don't miss it. Tune in at 13:10, and we do see us then, do we?